in nursing homes.
Oh, where would you put them, Benny? Where would you put them?
The single. I mean, this question's not up to me.
Oh, no, Benny, don't fuck around. Listen, hold on. You want to be a black-shirted guy. So where do you put them?
For it.
Oh, really? Because you were going to build facilities during COVID for people.
Didn't they build facilities in New York?
No, they brought a tanker ship.
Welcome to Evans Insider, where we break down political moments for what they reveal. In this segment, we're looking at a tense exchange between Chris Cuomo and Benny Johnson that quickly moves from a standard discussion into a more direct back and forth. As the conversation unfolds, both sides hold their positions, and the tone shifts as claims are challenged in real time rather than left untested. Let's get into it.
All right.
And it was funny. And too many of you guys pretend that you had issues during the pandemic that you had after the pandemic. That is my only beef with you MAGA folk. Not that, other than the fact that Trump gave us the vaccine and you guys ignore that in your analysis, but that during the pandemic, we were all figuring it out as we went along and taking it as it came and you know, questioning what seemed obvious. Later, there became big gaps that needed to get filled in. But you guys pretend like you were in that same place during the pandemic. And I went back and looked, Benny, and you were just as lost as the rest of us.
Well, hold on. Yes. Never, ever did anybody that I know or that I roll with ever say that the government should tyrannically lock children out of school or prevent them from learning, take away our ability to breathe fresh air, shame people for masking or not masking or double masking.
Right, but all of the grievance, Benny, came later. I'm saying when they first said...
This is not what we're here to relitigate, but like...
No, but I think it matters.
You know, the question is tyranny versus freedom. The people I roll with were firmly on the freedom side.
Benny, after the fact and later in duration, that's my point. So you're arguing... retrospectively what was right or wrong. That's easy. Sure. What I'm saying is when we were living it and states were making the initial decisions, I went back. You were not, oh no, leave my kid as exposed as possible. All 4 of them should get it. No, we were figuring it out in real time. It was weird in real time. But a lot of this is hindsight, where I'm pro-freedom, not tyranny. You weren't saying that shit right in the beginning, Benny, because we didn't know any better.
Well, absolutely we were. That was the way that I was living. But
no, I went back and looked. You were not a big detractor until later, and that's okay. There are plenty of things that we should still know that we don't know.
Wait a second. Well, I'm married to a nurse, and she informed me what a coronavirus was, and that this was the flu, and that we should actually not be locking down and living in fear. And that's the way that I lived my life. I was traveling through the whole thing. I hated the mask mandates. I hated the lockdowns.
Well, everybody hated them.
And
who didn't hate them?
And my business away from Washington, D.C. because of how horrific these lockdowns were and how antithetical they are to human flourishing.
I think you did all that once it became a cause. I would hazard a guess that your wife, who's a nurse, did not ignore the protocols for her place of work, because they were really worried, because a lot of those first responders, you know, like your wife, were getting sick, really sick. And it's the flu. You find a flu other than the one in 1918 that matches the numbers of COVID-19. The answer is you won't. It's not the flu. That's a nonsense statement.
I don't think we want to talk about overinflated numbers, or why some of those numbers, especially in nursing homes, got so high. I don't think we want to go there.
Well, why do you think they got high in nursing homes? You had old people there.
There was no reason that they should be putting people that were sick with a respiratory virus in nursing homes.
Oh, where would you put them, Benny? Where would you put them?
The single. I mean, this question's not up to me.
Oh, no, Benny, don't fuck around. Listen, hold on. You want to be a black-shirted guy. So where do you put them?
For it.
Oh, really? Because you were going to build facilities during COVID for people.
Didn't they build facilities in New York?
No, they brought a tanker ship. So you wanted to put old people on a tanker ship when their home was the nursing home.
This is where the conversation takes a sharp turn, because Chris Cuomo stops dealing in opinions and brings up the actual record. Instead of debating hypotheticals, he points out that Benny Johnson's current claims don't fully match what he was saying during the moment itself. And that matters. This isn't guesswork. It's based on documented content. You can see the shift right away. Rather than directly addressing that gap, Benny pivots away from it. That's what makes this exchange significant. A lot of the current conservative framing suggests there was total clarity from the start, that they had it right from day one. But when you look back, most people were reacting in real time, adjusting as new information came in. The confidence we hear now often developed later, once the politics around it solidified. Cuomo is challenging that hindsight narrative, and it creates pressure. Because once the timeline doesn't line up, the argument starts to weaken. You see it again with the nursing home point. When Benny tries to land a criticism, Cuomo immediately asks the key question. What was the alternative? And there's no clear response. The reality was complicated. Hospitals were managing risk, families couldn't always step in, and for many elderly patients, nursing homes were their actual residence. That's the distinction here. It's easy to critique decisions after the fact. It's much harder to explain what should have been done differently in the moment, under the same uncertainty. And when that answer isn't there, the criticism starts to lose weight.
The hospitals were told, you can't keep old people here, there's too much risk, which was true. You had to return them to where they went for residences. Where was that? The nursing home. The families, if they could take them, would take them. If there was an alternative, it was there. That's why every state that was told to do this by the federal government did it the same way. You see, Benny, gotcha is a short-sighted strategy.
Was it gotcha?
Q-tip, nursing homes. I get what you do, Benny.
It's war. You come after me for BuzzFeed. Who cares?
I didn't come after you for BuzzFeed. I countered the Q-tip.
You did like the quarantine in the basement thing. It's funny. It's a funny thing. It was the single most retarded time. It was the dumbest time in human history. I'll tell you that, Chris. I agree. A lot of people did a lot of stupid things. And there's probably plenty of people who, like, now looking back on it,
like you,
wow, we were dumb. Like,
yeah, you're one of them.
Dumb. That was stupid.
You're one of them.
Oh, well, okay, so what is it?
And I don't know that it was stupid then, Benny, because you had too many people who died.
People that regret what I did. Well, what was it?
No. I'm not saying that you regret it. Benny, you got to learn to listen. That shirt may be a little too tight around your neck, and it's squeezing your blood flow. What I'm saying is, I say this mostly with good humor also. I don't get upset about intellectual pursuits and trying to figure things out. It can be frustrating, but it's not something about animus. Otherwise, I wouldn't have you on now at NewsNation. And here, I want to talk to you, Benny. So it's not about animosity. I promise you that.
What I'm saying, I'm only like, I'm a good spirited. Like I laugh. I love what you've done. What you've done with your career is very similar to Bill Maher, where to me it seems like an honest pursuit of.
Was he fired and broke?
The landscape. Well, I've been there too. It'd be easier to count the places that haven't fired me, actually, in the media landscape. That's actually why I had to start my own company.
I only cut you off because I'll tell you what, I would like to agree with you, but I can't because I am much more impressed with Bill than I am with anything I've done, and I'll tell you why. Bill is intellectually honest. Okay, I don't believe that he's had any kind of epiphany of any kind, except maybe a little anti-partisan in general. Just like, wow, this whole system is terrible. But it's not like he's moved one way or another. I think the ground has shifted underneath him. But what I think is really interesting is in a business where he is getting paid exclusively to entertain, he has consistently done things that could have gotten him kicked off.
Yes.
And
bravery.
And I respect it because it's also really intellectually honest of him. I know Bill pretty well, and he is not making anything up because it works right now. That is 0% of his head and his heart. And that's really impressive to me. And much more so than me just deciding I got to keep working, you know?
but people saw you give Trump an A couple of weeks ago, right?
When Chris Cuomo calls out the gotcha approach as short-sighted, he's not just making a passing remark, he's pointing to a bigger issue in how a lot of political content operates today. The focus isn't on depth or accuracy, it's on moments that can be clipped, shared, and turned into quick hits. The goal becomes reaction, not understanding. And you can see that dynamic play out in real time. As the conversation tightens, Benny Johnson shifts away from substance and leans into humor and side comments. That shift isn't random. It's what happens when the discussion moves into territory that requires clear, evidence-based answers. Instead of engaging directly, the tone changes. The conversation becomes lighter, more performative, but that contrast is exactly what Cuomo is highlighting. The difference between trying to unpack a serious issue and trying to keep things entertaining. Then the discussion takes another turn when Cuomo brings up Bill Maher. He points to Maher as someone who has, over time, taken positions that don't always align neatly with any one audience, even when it risks backlash. According to Cuomo, that consistency matters more than simply aligning with what's popular in the moment. What stands out here is the level of reflection. Cuomo openly acknowledges that maintaining that kind of independence isn't easy, especially in a media environment that often rewards predictability and strong partisan alignment. It's a rare admission that sticking to a principle can come at a cost, and that's where the contrast sharpens. On one side, you have a model built around engagement, fast reactions, strong framing, content designed to spread. On the other, an attempt to hold on to a more grounded approach, even when it's less rewarding in the short term. That tension between influence and integrity is at the center of this exchange, and it's what separates commentary that aims to inform from content that's primarily built to perform.
Like on the that's something that you would have never done at CNN.
No,
And
of course I would have. I don't blame CNN, Benny. In truth,
many people are impressed by that. I mean,
I never did anything.
Chris,
yeah, but you know what,
that's,
Benny?
You know,
some people
like,
are
it's
impressed.
Like a lot of people
some
are like,
people
wow,
think I'm a devil.
Your clips are going viral. Your clips are going viral now because it seems like you're engaging in this very good faith pursuit of the truth.
I think that, Benny, here's my problem with it. There's nothing wrong with what you're suggesting. And I only push back because there is no shift. And if anybody were going to shit talk CNN, Benny, it would be me, right? And I don't, for two reasons. One, the people I worked with didn't fire me, right? Two guys did. So my beef and my litigation is with them. I wish I were, I wish I didn't have to lead that way. I wish I had that kind of platform. But no one there ever made me say anything anyway, or didn't let me give Trump an A for something. Why? It just never came up. If anything, Zucker was getting bashed for having made Trump. The left was very mad at Zucker about the advent of Trump. So I don't see CNN the way you guys do, but I still believe that one of the reasons you and I need to talk to each other is not just the shirt and you being the junior version of my weightlifting ability, but that I think that there's probably a lot more, even though I'm not a MAGA guy, I'm not, it doesn't resonate with me. I am sympathetic to a lot of the people in MAGA because their distress is real. But I bet you we are more in agreement about what matters in the world than we are in conflict. That is my supposition.
Listen, I wasn't planning on talking about COVID, nor was I planning on rehashing, funny viral moments, everything from my firing or your firing or whatever. But the fact that you can do it and have a laugh is good for people. And
I agree.
To see more of it. And it's great. It's also healing. There's like a pressure release valve that happens in the American public when you're able to have both sides and you're able to like sit back and have a laugh about these things and not take yourself too damn seriously.
Yes.
I think the American public has had enough of pretentious people that take themselves too seriously and have no self-deprecation and can't look at the landscape and perhaps come to like a conclusion that we agree on probably far more than we actually disagree on. And the people that are willing to have those conversations are doing great with their careers.
This is where Chris Cuomo moves from simply engaging in the discussion to actively defining his credibility in a way that the audience can evaluate for themselves. When he says that if anyone were going to criticize CNN, it would be him, he's referencing his own history inside the organization. Having worked within that system and later being removed from it, he positions himself as someone who isn't speaking from institutional loyalty or external speculation. Instead, he's grounding his perspective in first-hand experience, which strengthens the weight of his commentary. From there, he draws a clear line regarding political identity. Cuomo states that he doesn't identify with the MAGA movement, and that its framework doesn't resonate with him personally. However, he also acknowledges that many individuals within that space are responding to genuine concerns and frustrations. That distinction is what he frames as empathy without endorsement, recognizing the human motivations behind political positions without agreeing with the positions themselves. In a highly polarized media landscape, that kind of nuance is often difficult to maintain. Statements like that are frequently interpreted in extremes, either as alignment or rejection, leaving little room for middle ground understanding. Cuomo is pointing to the challenge of expressing complexity in an environment that tends to reward clear-cut, binary classifications. He then broadens the conversation by suggesting that, at a fundamental level, most people share similar priorities. Issues like public safety, education quality, economic opportunity, and personal stability are widely agreed upon. The disagreements arise not from those shared goals, but from the different approaches proposed to achieve them. However, discussions rarely remain focused on that shared foundation because broader discourse tends to shift toward conflict-driven narratives. This is where incentives play a significant role. Content that emphasizes division, sharp contrasts, and emotional reactions tends to gain more traction in the current media ecosystem. As a result, conversations that aim for cooperation or problem-solving often struggle to compete for attention. Cuomo's closing perspective highlights that imbalance. Even when individuals express a desire for dialogue and mutual understanding, the structure of modern media often pulls the conversation in the opposite direction. Until those underlying incentives shift, it becomes difficult for more balanced, solution-oriented discussions to consistently take center stage.